This book is a reflection and remembrance of our journey back to balance and universal harmony. The words within these pages are not bound by religion or confined to philosophy. They are a weaving of soul memory, truth, and lived human experience, a bridge between heaven and earth. The chapters that follow speak of soul coherence, planetary densities, and the role of oversouls and volunteers who have chosen to assist in this sacred transformation. We explore the alchemy of masculine and feminine energies, the veil of forgetting, the cycles of karma, and the quiet miracle of forgiveness. This is a story of returning to the heart of who we truly are and who we have always been, beneath the illusion of separation. This is the dawn of a new dream, one not born of fear, but of unity, known as the great dream of love. Chapter 1: Mother Earth's Fortification. Earth is not just a planet, but a conscious being, alive, aware, and deeply connected to all of us. She feels everything we do, not only physically through pollution and resource exploitation, but emotionally and energetically through how we treat one another. Our collective energy has a profound effect on Earth's state. When there is widespread suffering, violence, or hatred, our planet absorbs this energy. In many spiritual teachings and channeled materials, natural disasters such as earthquakes, hurricanes, and volcanic eruptions are not random. They are part of Earth's way of releasing trauma and restoring balance. In a way, Earth is mirroring us, creating space for healing and renewal. Earth functions as a multidimensional transmitter for our collective energy, with her core acting as the central conduit for these frequencies. Rather than merely receiving input, Earth amplifies and radiates the energetic signatures generated by human consciousness. Planets vibrating at higher frequencies emit a harmonic resonance, a distinct hum that can be sensed and interpreted throughout the universe. These harmonious vibrations contribute to the coherence of the greater cosmic system. In contrast, planets that remain in lower densities emit a discordant signal, disrupting universal harmony and drawing attention from more advanced civilizations across the galaxy. The goal in the universe is to bring harmony across all planetary systems. That is why the process of fortification is so important. When a planet and its inhabitants evolve in love, unity, and higher consciousness, the planet fortifies and shifts into a higher frequency, adding to the symphony of universal harmony. Earth, in her current state, is in the process of this transition. There is a major shift underway. A kind of mass transition is occurring as many souls are leaving the planet, and others are arriving with higher frequencies to assist in the evolution of Earth. This is not about fear. It is about transformation. It is part of a divine process, one that has been foretold in many ancient traditions and modern spiritual insights. Earth is in the process of ascending. To fully grasp this process, it is essential to understand the concept of planetary densities and how they relate to frequency and consciousness. In metaphysical teachings, densities represent distinct levels of spiritual and energetic evolution. Earth currently resides in the third density, which is characterized by self-awareness and the ability to choose between love and fear, unity and separation. This density includes a veil of forgetfulness that clouds the memory of the soul's true nature, making the journey of growth and free will possible. As beings evolve in love, compassion, and understanding, they contribute to the elevation of the planet's overall frequency, allowing it to transition into the fifth density, where love and higher wisdom take form. Despite the current state of polarization and confusion, many souls are incarnating now to help tip the energetic balance. We are seeing the veil thin as more people awaken spiritually, remember past lives, and experience a heightened connection to the unseen realms. These are indicators that Earth is moving through fourth density, a transitional phase on the way to a more unified and loving state of being. Free will plays a crucial role in this evolution. The ability to choose love over fear, unity over division, is at the heart of the third density experience. Although challenges persist, the potential for growth and transformation has never been greater. But if Earth is truly evolving into a higher state of being, why does it sometimes feel like things are getting worse? The answer lies in interference, both seen and unseen. Much of what we face today stems from technologies and covert agendas, rooted in old power structures, initiated by secretive factions that have long operated behind the scenes. These technologies were not developed in isolation, but were influenced through past contact with extraterrestrial beings who sought to shape human evolution for their own agendas. In ancient civilizations like Egypt and the Mayan Empire, some of these beings were perceived as gods, offering knowledge in exchange for influence. While some were said to uplift, others steered humanity into distortion. Earth became a meeting ground for competing agendas, a mirror for the complexity of free will. Today, echoes of that legacy remain in certain elite circles and shadow organizations that still attempt to divide and suppress. Political ideologies, manipulated narratives, and cultural distractions are often used to anchor society in fear and confusion. Technology, particularly the digital infrastructure now embedded into everyday life, has become both a tool of control and a double-edged sword. Yet these methods are losing their grip. The same tools once used for control are now transforming into instruments of awakening. Digital platforms, though flawed, are helping people around the world connect, share truth, and rediscover their voice. The light is rising, and the veil is thinning. The resistance is no longer silent. Enlightened souls have been incarnating on Earth. They come not to fight, but to fortify, to hold love steadily and help humanity reclaim its inner sovereignty. This moment in time is not a collapse. It is a convergence, the culmination of eons of preparation. The journey is not a retreat into heaven, but a return to wholeness, where love anchors light and heaven meets earth within us. As we bridge the divide within ourselves and with one another, we help Earth complete her sacred journey of fortification. Chapter 2. Journey through Earth School. As Earth moves through its fortification process, it is important to understand the role of soul evolution within the broader picture. Souls incarnating on Earth are not random. They arrive at specific times to participate in a grand cycle of growth and learning. We are currently nearing the end of a 26,000-year cycle, one that has allowed countless souls to incarnate, experience, and evolve through what many call Earth School. Between incarnations, souls cross into the spiritual realm, a plane of reflection, study, and preparation. Here, we access the Akashic Records, a vast energetic library that holds the memory of every life lived. In this sacred space, we review our past experiences, understand the choices we made, and explore how we could have created more love, compassion, and wisdom. Earth School is not a place of punishment. It is a space of healing, guided learning, and preparation for deeper growth. Souls exist on many levels within this spiritual school, each one supported by spirit guides who offer insight and encouragement. Soul levels are not solely determined by how many lifetimes one has experienced, but by the depth and intensity of the lessons chosen. Younger souls may choose simpler lives focused on foundational experiences, while older souls often take on more complex and challenging journeys. Suffering, although difficult, becomes one of the most accelerated paths for soul growth, as it cultivates empathy and a deeper capacity for love. The beauty of Earth School lies in its diversity. Each soul, regardless of level, plays a role in the evolution of the whole. Some come to teach, some to heal, and others to learn and transform through experience. The culmination of this cycle is not only about individual evolution, but about contributing to the greater mission, helping Earth fortify and graduate into a new era of harmony and higher vibration. As we remember who we are and why we came, we begin to reconnect with the wisdom of the soul. This remembrance becomes the bridge between spiritual and physical, guiding us toward unity, compassion, and a renewed relationship with the earth and with each other. Much of the foundational understanding of soul levels and the structure of Earth School can be found in Michael Newton's Journey of Souls and his follow-up work, Destiny of Souls. These books offer valuable insights into the spiritual realm, soul development, and the life between lives journey that many souls experience. As Earth moves toward fortification, her graduation into higher density, the nature of Earth School within the spiritual realm will also shift. Once Earth is fortified, the karmic cycles that required ongoing reincarnation and review will no longer be necessary. The life books, which we currently study in the Akashic records after each incarnation, will remain archived in spirit, but we will no longer need to examine them to correct past actions. The veil of forgetfulness that has long obscured our soul's memory will shatter, allowing us to retain full awareness of who we are across lifetimes. We are approaching the end of the Earth School cycle. What comes next is not another round of lessons, but the beginning of a whole new era, a cycle of awakened existence where love and unity guide our evolution beyond the limitations of karma and separation. We have a beautiful new dream awaiting us, one that we helped create, and there is so much to celebrate. But Earth is not evolving in isolation. Many of the souls walking among us today have come from beyond, volunteers from fortified planets who chose to incarnate during this critical time. Their presence is not only accelerating Earth's graduation, but also contributing to a galactic exchange of wisdom that supports the evolution of unity consciousness across the universe. Chapter 3. Volunteers and Oversouls. As Earth approaches the culmination of its long evolutionary cycle, a remarkable gathering of souls has arrived to assist in the fortification process. These souls are known as volunteers. Some are advanced souls who have lived many lifetimes on Earth and have been assisting us from the spiritual realm, but have now returned by choice to help guide humanity through this pivotal time of great change. These volunteers carry wisdom, empathy, and a deep understanding of Earth's energetic systems and karmic patterns. Their soul memory is rich with lived experience on this planet, making them powerful catalysts for healing and transformation. Other volunteers come from fortified planets across the universe, worlds that have already completed their own evolutionary journey and now exist in higher densities. Typically, one volunteer is sent from each planet, serving as a direct representative of their home world. These souls do not require Earth School in the spiritual realm after death, nor do they need to review their life books in the Akashic records. Upon completion of their Earth mission, they usually return to their planet of origin. These fortified planets operate through what can best be described as a state of one consciousness, a unified energetic field in which every soul shares core memories, emotions, and communicates telepathically. When a volunteer returns home, the entire planetary consciousness receives the wisdom and emotional impressions from their Earth experience. Through this process, their civilization grows collectively, even if only one soul physically incarnated on Earth. By bringing back the emotional and spiritual insights gained during their time on Earth, these volunteers contribute to the creation of equilibrium and vibrational balance across the universe, supporting the emergence of unity consciousness on a cosmic scale. This sacred exchange plays a vital role in the balance of the universe, as each planet contributes to the greater whole. The presence of these interstellar volunteers not only supports humanity's evolution, but also allows their home planets to understand and integrate the emotional complexity and soul depth that Earth uniquely offers. In return, Earth is infused with a variety of planetary energies, making it rich in cosmic diversity. In addition to volunteers, there are also many oversouls incarnating on Earth. An oversoul is a soul who, through free will and deep devotion, chooses to remain dedicated to a single planet until its evolutionary process is complete. This is not a requirement, but a sacred offering, a conscious commitment made out of love and purpose. Once the planet reaches fortification, the oversoul is then free to incarnate on other worlds to assist in their own transitions. While there are several oversouls present on Earth, their incarnations are rare and deeply intentional, but Earth has its own oversoul. The oversoul of Earth is most widely recognized through the soul known as Jesus, whose life was one of his most impactful incarnations. However, this oversoul has walked the earth for centuries, both as man and woman, and has remained by choice, bound to earth through love and service, until the fortification is complete. After Earth's fortification, many visions have depicted a grand celebration involving Jesus and a ceremonial event resembling a marriage. This symbolism, found in spiritual experiences and echoed in biblical references to humanity as the bride, may be interpreted as a metaphysical union marking the birth of one consciousness on earth. This is what many in the spiritual community refer to as Christ consciousness. Jesus is increasingly being recognized not only as a religious figure, but as a planetary guide and embodiment of unconditional love. In this context, the oversoul of a planet may be seen as that planet's savior, not in the sense of hierarchy, but as a soul who lovingly remains until the completion of its evolution, leading it toward unity, balance, and divine remembrance. Although this understanding is not religious in nature, it resonates with the deeper spiritual themes found in Christianity beyond the boundaries of doctrine. As the veil continues to lift and Earth rises into a higher state of being, unity will ultimately bridge the divide created by misinterpretations within religious systems. What emerges is not separation through belief, but remembrance through love, truth, and understanding. Chapter 4. Soul Coherence. Soul coherence is the state of unity, harmony, and alignment. It refers to the energetic resonance between all parts of the self when the soul's fragments, thoughts, emotions, and experiences vibrate in balance. In spiritual terms, soul coherence is the return to wholeness. It is the sacred process of reintegrating what was once scattered, allowing the soul to fully embody its divine essence. A soul is the essence of white light and intelligent energy, originating from the Creator and made of pure divine energy. When we incarnate on earth, we bring only a fractal of our soul into the human body, while the rest remains in the spiritual realm. The human body cannot contain the full brilliance of the soul. It simply does not have the capacity. The fractal enters a human vessel that it must learn to adapt to, and through that process, it begins to grow. Earth presents difficult lessons, and the full spectrum of human emotion allows the soul to expand through lived experience. While on Earth, the fractal collects energetic imprints that will eventually reintegrate with the complete soul in the spiritual realm. The Creator remains forever connected to the fractal. As we live our lives, the Creator lives through us. This is the deeper meaning behind the biblical phrase that we are the hands and feet of our Creator. Though we are guided by this divine spark, our lives are shaped by free will. Our consciousness is a blend of human experience and the inner wisdom offered by the soul's fractal, tethered to divine intelligence. However, some choices made in life can shroud the fractal in stagnant or heavy energy, making the connection to the soul's higher guidance difficult to access. In such cases, a person may become absorbed in ego-driven desires, generating a dense vibrational field. The fractal, weighed down by this energy, struggles to remain balanced within the incarnation. When the fractal returns to the spiritual realm, it undergoes a process of fortification, a gentle integration where the energy gathered on earth is slowly reinfused into the whole soul. Once this process is complete, the soul may rest, reflect, or prepare for its next incarnation, depending on what is still needed for its growth and evolution. Souls evolve within groups known as soul families, often incarnating together over many lifetimes to support one another's development. These groups follow a shared energetic trajectory, though any soul can choose to evolve beyond its group through free will, entering more advanced collectives. The spiritual realm is often experienced as radiant layers of color, each hue representing a distinct level of soul maturity. White souls are newly born from the Creator, part of an ongoing cycle of recycled energy. Some may have once existed as elements of collective consciousness, or as aspects of nature or animal life, before being reabsorbed into Source and reborn as unique expressions of individuality. Yellow souls are still young but have studied energy within the spiritual realm. They are ready to choose their first planetary experience, often Earth, known for its intensity and contrast. Orange souls have returned from Earth incarnations, having picked up traces of red, symbolizing the effects of deep polarity or suffering. Souls returning with too much red or stagnant energy may need time and healing spaces before reintegrating. Special sanctuaries in the spiritual realm exist for this purpose, guided by advanced souls who assist in restoring balance and harmony to those returning from dense incarnations. The spectrum of soul colors continues in advancement based on wisdom and compassion. Higher frequency expressions include gold, green, light blue, deep blue, indigo, and purple, each representing increasingly refined levels of soul evolution, culminating in the most advanced beings, such as elders and oversouls. As souls grow more advanced, they may choose to split their incarnations, sending multiple small fractals into different human lives simultaneously. This allows the soul to assist in Earth's fortification more efficiently, though it is a demanding path that can create energetic strain. Still, free will permits such a path when a soul is ready for the challenge. Oversouls devoted to their home planets are known to do this. Spirit guides assist in choosing lifetimes that support both the soul's evolution and the planet's transformation, each life carefully selected to align with personal and planetary purpose. This great cycle has unfolded across eternities, allowing souls to embody the essence of our Creator in ever-expanding forms. Through free will, we have been gifted with the sacred ability to create, and now a new cycle is upon us. It is as if we are all waiting for the sun to rise in its full brilliance, a dawn not of light alone, but of awareness. In this next cycle of creation, we will no longer live as separate beings, but as one consciousness. No longer will the Creator see only through us. We will see through the eyes of the Creator. We have much to celebrate. We have learned so much, and our path, paved with lessons, courage, and love, has brought us to the threshold of a beautiful new dream in the essence of divine creation. As the soul moves toward coherence, its journey reflects something far greater, a divine pattern woven into the fabric of existence itself. Our individual paths mirror a much larger story, one that began long before time. To truly understand where we are going, we must remember how it all began. Chapter 5. The Great Dream of Love. In the beginning, when the first thought of love expanded into a dream, a collision occurred between that dream and another, becoming what we now know as the Great Dream of Love. This convergence offered us the sacred gift of free will. The two fundamental representations of duality, masculine and feminine energies, were born from these colliding dreams, each containing distinct mechanisms of thought and being. The masculine dream contained dark light, illuminations of peace, intelligence, mathematics, structure, strength, perseverance, logic, reason, curiosity, seriousness, and grounded energies. The feminine dream contained white light, illuminating pure innocence, creativity, imagination, nurturing, caring, gracefulness, empathy, patience, compassion, and laughter. The fusion of these energies created a vast expansion in this universe, giving rise to the archetypal mind and allowing our Creator to know and express itself through the merging of these frequencies, resulting in our capacity to love. As these dreams expanded, they gave birth to civilizations of different species. Beings from the masculine dream lacked an understanding of creativity and compassion, while beings from the feminine dream lacked the principles of strength and intelligence. Through physical incarnations, the beings of both dreams began to blend their energies. Initially, this created stark contrasts and emotional turbulence, but over many incarnations, an alchemy of balance emerged between the polarities of white and dark light. Eventually, the archetypal mind was imprinted into human consciousness as part of our final evolutionary cycle, crafted from the wisdom gathered over countless eternities. Earth became the final masterpiece of this dream. We chose to add another dimension to free will, the veil of forgetting. When we incarnate on Earth, we forget who we truly are, allowing us to rediscover ourselves and consciously dream about who we wish to become. So we became the dreamers of Earth, creating another layer of experience within the Creator's dream. Some who incarnate are born into a body of majority of masculine energy, regardless of gender. These individuals may be more analytical, drawn to structure, science, mathematics, and logic. Others choose bodies that embody more feminine energy, again regardless of gender. These individuals may be imaginative, creative, and focused on art, music, and holistic thinking without the need for structure. The experience of masculine and feminine energies within physical incarnation allows each soul to spiritually evolve through duality and ultimately harmonize these polarities. Over time, this evolution has created an even wider spectrum of masculine and feminine expressions, resulting in positive and negative polarizations. Because of free will, our choices introduced adversity between these dualities, creating opposition and what we have come to know as evil. Yet the original dreams that collided have allowed us to become co-creators. We've shaped many versions of ourselves, as reflected in the vast cultural expressions across the earth. We have been incarnating through lifetimes to transform the distortion we created within duality. The true essence of the great dream of love is not in overcoming one duality, but in weaving both together through the tapestry of experience. It is what liberates us from the illusion of separation, freeing us from false identities rooted in ego, and returning us to the truth of our collective consciousness. The next cycle we are entering is one of balance, where the original dreams harmonize to form a new dynamic. In this emerging reality, we are becoming the best versions of ourselves, courageous, compassionate, and whole, the most beautiful and intelligent expression of both masculine and feminine energies united in love. The true alchemy of these energies has birthed understanding. The feminine no longer fears the masculine, and the masculine no longer seeks power over the feminine. By choosing many lifetimes, often filled with suffering as a catalyst, we've come to understand the deeper meaning of love. This understanding now embraces us through a collective awareness of gratitude and the countless sacrifices made for one another across the span of eternities. In this new dream, we welcome one another into the greatest love story we could have ever imagined. And so, the dream was set in motion. But to understand its origin, we must first hear from the voice that dreamed of us. Chapter 6, The Voice of Creation. What follows came to me years ago through channeling. It was not a thought, but a direct experience, a conversation between my soul and the Creator. This is not doctrine or dogma, but remembrance, a poetic unfolding from the voice of creation itself, before the universe was born, before light had formed, and before love dreamed of itself. Before the dream of our current universe, what were you doing? I was in darkness as a small point of light. What were you doing while you were sitting in the darkness? I was dreaming of you. The darkness was a vast and peaceful space. It was simply the absence of my light, filled with infinite possibilities of many potential dreams in which our light could grow into. I longed to share my light with you, and needed an extension of it to do so. So, I thought of a love so beautiful that my thought created a burst of light, and my love became your light, scattering throughout the vastness of space. This universe became my dream, and you became the dreamers within mine. If you were in darkness, is that what dark matter is in our universe that astronomers have been studying? What scientists call dark energy is simply the expansion of this universe containing my dream. It expands as my consciousness expands, but dark matter is not part of my dream. It is a dream within mine, one that contained darkness. Where did this dark dream come from? Was it part of the same darkness of infinite space before your dream began? This dark dream was not infinite space. It contained something imagined, something with no comprehension of white light. At the first thought of love, creation became a beautiful and blissful place. I dreamt of love that became light. But there was another dream, one that became darkness. Then the bubbles containing both dreams collided. Why would you allow this to happen? Aren't you perfect and all-knowing? I am not perfect. That is just a term you use to describe absolution. My love is perfect, and your love for me makes me complete, and that is what makes perfection. I did not allow this collision to happen. I was so blinded by my love for you that I could not see anything beyond it. But my Father had an even greater dream, so my Father allowed both of these dreams to collide. Why would your Father allow this? Doesn't He love us too? Yes, and His love is as great as mine. My Father saw the dream you would create within mine, in which your love would break through the darkness and transform it through suffering. He saw that darkness would offer you the freedom to choose, and in the process, it would give you the opportunity to grow your love and expand your light. Though it involved many sacrifices, He knew your love would never grow if it was never tested, if you were never given the chance to fight for your light. And through that journey, you brought love to new heights and gave it true meaning. Are there other universes beyond the dark one that collided with ours? There were no other collisions, but since our universe has been expanding, we have been evolving for eternities, and within that expansion, many other dreams within mine have been created. Where are they? They are all the far distant galaxies you see when you investigate the vastness of space. Are all these dreams separate? We are all connected. Therefore, we are never truly separated, other than by the illusion of separation. But now, we are ready to create an even greater dream on the other side of this universe, one in which we bring our many dreams into one. What you call a black hole is simply the portal to the other side, to our brand new universe, where our new dream is waiting for us. If we were created from your dream, in which we could create our own dream, then who created your Father's dream? Then all I heard was an echo of, I am, that I am, that I am. And I saw a constant dream created from infinite love that has always been, as we too created a dream from our love, as it continues to be, a great dream of love. Chapter 7, Energy Transference. The voice of creation reminded us that we are not the only dreamers. Across the vastness of space, many other beings have emerged, each with their own energetic compositions, purposes, and evolutionary journeys. Some intelligent life forms in the universe have evolved solely through masculine energy. These beings often exhibit a telepathic hive mind, rooted in logic, structure, and mathematics. Their energy contains no white light, only dark light, which is not evil, but simply lacking the emotional resonance found in love. While their physical intelligence has advanced, their evolution does not occur through reincarnation, but rather through a cycling of energy in and out of their planet. Many of these civilizations have progressed significantly in technology. However, energy that originates solely from masculine frequencies has limitations. It cannot develop compassion or emotional intelligence on its own. While some civilizations born with masculine energy may have found peace without white light, the true essence of feminine origins, emotional evolution, remains beyond their reach. Yet, when this energy encounters white light, something extraordinary can occur. A moment of transference may take place, a natural fusion where masculine energy is imprinted by light. That contact, brief or prolonged, initiates a transformation, expanding consciousness and opening the door to soul evolution that otherwise could not be achieved. In some instances, this occurred during contact with Earth. Beings who once showed little interest in emotional growth have experienced white light through their interactions with humans. As a result, some have undergone shifts in consciousness and now remain hidden within the oceans of Earth, no longer driven by agendas of interference. They understand Earth's sacred trajectory toward fortification, and in respect of universal law, will not interfere with our free will or incite fear. They know that until the veil shatters, humanity is not yet ready for open contact. Still, their presence has served as a catalyst for expansion, a bridge where masculine and feminine origins meet and evolve across the spectrum of duality. While some of these beings have integrated white light, others remain uninfluenced, continuing to operate within inner dimensions, energetic pockets beneath the vibrational threshold of our reality. Most inner dimensions are dense with stagnant or negatively polarized energy, becoming spaces where unintegrated masculine energy continues to circulate, unable to evolve. These dimensions exist outside of time as we perceive it, but they are not eternal. Once Earth reaches fortification, these inner dimensions will collapse. Their existence is tied to the unbalanced energetic state of our planet, and as Earth rises in frequency, the structures sustaining lower vibrational pockets will no longer be supported. Though some view these contrasts as good versus evil, we are invited to gain a higher perspective, one rooted in the universal laws governed by free will. The universe operates not by control, but by allowance. In that allowance, evolution unfolds, stretching the spectrum of polarity until it reaches a threshold. To fully understand how transference impacts not only individual beings, but the entire cosmos, we must first understand the nature of the universe itself. The universe is not just space, it is consciousness. It acts as a vast mirror, reflecting the choices, emotions, and frequencies of all sentient life. Within this mirror exists a kind of cosmic memory bank, a living archive of all thoughts, intentions, and actions ever expressed. This is known as the Akashic Records, an aspect of what is often referred to as the universal mind, as discussed in Chapter 2. This archive is available to any soul who wishes to learn. Yet, the universal mind is governed by free will. We must ask to receive. But with choice comes responsibility. Each decision carries either a gift or a consequence. For example, a person who lives solely for self-gain at the expense of others may receive what they desire, but at the cost of negative karma. The universe is not punishing, it is reflecting. It mirrors back what we need to learn in order to grow. This principle also applies to knowledge. Knowledge is sacred and given in divine timing to those who will use it wisely. With knowledge comes responsibility, and those who seek it must honor the laws of free will and timing. This is why the threshold within universal consciousness is so important. It protects us. It keeps us balanced between the polarities of masculine and feminine energy. As explored in Chapter 5, these polarities, which began as simple expressions of duality, gradually expanded into positive and negative extremes. Those who crossed the threshold into negativity began using knowledge for power and control. The emphasis here, however, is not on repeating that spectrum, but on how energy transference enables healing. Feminine energy, through its openness and grace, has received masculine energy and helped it mature. Through this reciprocal exchange, both have evolved. This is the essence of energy transference. It is not simply one energy changing another, but both becoming more than they were. Through love, gratitude, humility, and forgiveness, the polarities no longer compete. They harmonize. Chapter 8. Bridging the Divide. In the previous chapter, we explored the threshold of eternity, the tipping point between two great polarities, one aligned with love and one rooted in the rejection of it. That cosmic contrast is now manifesting here, in our world, through the cultural and spiritual divisions we are experiencing today. What once was a cautionary path is now worn as a badge of freedom. This inversion is not random. It mirrors the exact contrast that must surface before balance can be restored. For it is here, in the rhythms of culture, belief, and identity, that the soul's deeper lessons unfold. We are living in a time when personal identity is often placed above divinity. What was once considered self-serving is now celebrated, amplified by a cultural shift that emphasizes personal experience over shared spiritual wisdom. This identity-driven culture often exalts self over sacrifice, emotion over discernment, and expression over introspection. Religious doctrine, when wielded through judgment rather than compassion, only deepens this divide. One of the more sensitive aspects of this cultural shift involves gender identity. It has become a highly polarized topic, especially impacting the younger generation. In meditation, I ask God how this is seen from a higher perspective. What I received was not condemnation, but clarity. It does not exist in the way you think it does. God explained that gender, as we understand it, is a limited lens. Though the desire to express uniqueness is sacred, the concept has become a burden. Children are being asked to define themselves before they've had time to simply be. We may think we are liberating them, but we may be asking them to carry too much, too soon. God reminded me that we are all made of energy, and divine essence is both masculine and feminine. Some men carry a more feminine frequency. Some women embody masculine traits. This is not confusion. It is balance. This energy exchange is not meant to be labeled, but lived. We are drawn to one another through frequency, not through rules. If we soften our grip on definition, perhaps love will rise in its place. In modern culture, especially within movements centered on identity and liberation, a quiet rebellion has taken root. Many who felt judged or condemned by rigid interpretations of Scripture have begun to reclaim the very traits once labeled as sinful. Pride became identity, wrath became activism, envy became entitlement. When religious systems speak of hell for those who are gay, transgender, or simply different, the human response is often one of grief turned to rage. This is not rebellion for the sake of chaos. It is a cry for acts, a longing to be seen as worthy of love. What may appear as cultural inversion is, at its core, an emotional retaliation, a way to reclaim power in the face of condemnation. While these expressions are not inherently evil, when they are embraced without discernment or balance, they can perpetuate disconnection from self, from others, and from source. The concept of the 7 deadly sins, as introduced in religious doctrine, was originally intended to guide humanity away from behaviors that create spiritual and emotional imbalance. These teachings, though rooted in wisdom, were often enforced through fear and guilt rather than love and understanding. Over time, the word sin became synonymous with shame, and instead of inspiring transformation, it triggered self-rejection. This cultural pushback is not rooted in evil. It is rooted in pain. From a higher perspective, the energies once labeled as sin can be understood as heavy vibrations: pride, envy, wrath, greed, lust, gluttony, and sloth. They are not curses to shame or punish, but distortions to heal. Behind each is a deeper need. Pride masks a wound of unworthiness. Greed hides a longing to feel fulfilled. Lust may be a search for connection. And wrath often is unprocessed grief. I was shown that many souls on Earth now have lived lives on other planets where gender and form are fluid or non-existent. When they incarnate here, they carry a memory they can't name, a longing they can't place. And when they are met with judgment instead of compassion, pain turns to rage. Identity becomes armor, and the divide deepens. Yet beneath every cry for justice is a desire to be loved. Our perspective of understanding can help bridge these misconceptions. When we meet these energies, not with judgment, but with understanding, we begin to transform them. We reclaim their root and return them to their original intention. Even beyond cultural ideologies, the divide often begins with how we see each other. It's not just systems that separate us, but the assumptions we carry into everyday interactions. We often see others not as they truly are, but through the lens of social conditioning and programming. This has created a culture of labels, assumptions based on social status, profession, beliefs, opinions, or fears. We also project our past wounds, which distorts how we perceive others. This is where labels become dangerous. When we reduce someone to a single word, a narcissist, a victim, a failure, a Republican or Democrat, we strip away their depth and complexity. Labels create walls instead of bridges, leaving no room for growth, healing, or understanding. It's easy to fall into black and white thinking, seeing others as either good or bad, right or wrong. But life unfolds in the in-between, in quiet moments of reflection, in conversations where understanding blooms, and in the spaces where love softens judgment. When we move beyond rigid categories, we open the door to something greater, compassion. This doesn't mean we excuse harm or avoid setting boundaries. Boundaries are essential to emotional health, but taken too far, they become barriers. True healing happens in relationships, through the willingness to communicate and understand when both souls are ready. If someone is unwilling to grow or take accountability, letting go can be an act of love, not rejection. And when we are on the receiving end of rejection, we must remember, our worth is not determined by how others see us. Growth is knowing when to pursue connection and when to release it with grace. Relationships, like the tide, ebb and flow. As we align more fully with our true essence, we attract those who see and appreciate us. In the end, what matters is not how others label us, but how we perceive ourselves. We act as a bridge when we heal misconceptions with a higher perspective. When we walk with openness, meet others with kindness rather than assumption, and trust the unfolding, we step into the fullness of who we are. We are not our past, nor the judgments placed upon us. We are ever-evolving souls, learning, growing, and becoming. This is the energy of the new earth. Let us be the bridge that meets pain with compassion, identity with spirit, and difference with grace. As the veils of separation begin to lift, within culture, within identity, and within the soul, we are not only witnessing a psychological or societal shift, but a biological one. The bridge from division to unity is not merely philosophical, it is encoded in us. Our very DNA holds the memory of balance, coherence, and light. What was once scattered through lifetimes of polarity is now being called home, back into alignment with the original design. Chapter 9. The Return to the Light. Recent advances in quantum biology reveal that DNA is not a rigid, static structure. It is fluid, light-sensitive, and intimately responsive to internal states and external frequencies. Studies of biophoton emissions show that DNA can store and transmit information through light, supporting what ancient cultures intuitively understood. We are beings of light, encoded with a blueprint that extends beyond the physical genome. Many believe the shift in our original light-based DNA unfolded gradually over eons, rather than in a single moment. Key inflection points throughout human history, particularly those described in texts like the Book of Enoch, tell of contact with non-terrestrial beings, sometimes called the Watchers, who descended to Earth and altered human DNA through both biological and informational exchange. Whether interpreted literally or symbolically, the result was the same: a recalibration of our biological, emotional, and spiritual capacities. In esoteric teachings and sacred texts, including those once excluded from mainstream canons, this transition is described not as punishment, but as a transformation triggered by environmental, cosmic, and interventional forces. Our 12-strand DNA, symbolizing multidimensional awareness and spiritual connectivity, began to unravel. In a vision that came to me years ago, this transformational arc was revealed through symbolic language. I saw Eve, not as the biblical figure burdened by shame, but as a pure being, nurturing, radiant, and in perfect resonance with the original light-based frequency of human DNA. Adam stood beside her, not in contrast, but in sacred balance, symbolizing a white dove, an untouched energy of pure innocence. But then came a shift. Following the great collision between dream realities, another frequency entered the field. It was not inherently evil, but foreign, inviting a choice that had not existed before. It was as if a black crow flew across the sky, casting a shadow. This was the first temptation. The invitation to explore contrast, to engage with the unknown, presented a path of expansion, but also of fragmentation. The act of choosing created a vibrational chasm between them. Eve, overwhelmed by the dissonance, turned away and ran from Adam after he learned of desire, which resulted in sexual activity between them. It was not rejection. It was a response to the fracture that now rippled through their shared field. In that moment of separation, polarity was born. And from this polarity came two sons, each carrying a distinct resonance of the emerging duality. From the fusion of Eve and Adam came twin sons, each embodying a different path of consciousness. One son reflected the original blueprint of light-based humanity, deeply empathic, attuned to subtle emotional fields, and connected to the unity of life. The other son, however, emerged with a very different expression. He was sharp, observant, and driven by a new kind of intelligence, one shaped by instinct, strength, survival, and curiosity. But his perception lacked emotional resonance. His expression was misunderstood when he handed Eve the body of a small bird he had killed and eaten, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. He expected approval, even praise, as though he had accomplished something meaningful. To him, the act was a demonstration of skill, independence, and power. But for Eve, the moment was devastating. She didn't see strength. She saw the first fracture. The life of the bird, sacred and connected in her eyes to the source of all life, had been taken without reverence or awareness. Her son's gesture, though innocent in intent, struck her with a deep and painful realization. Something had changed. The light of empathy that once flowed effortlessly through all beings was no longer universal. A new kind of consciousness had emerged, one capable of separation, of acting without feeling. Her other son stood beside her and wept, not just in sympathy for the bird, but in empathy for his mother. This duality, instinct without empathy and empathy without aggression, reflected the initial split in the human energetic field. The two sons symbolized the bifurcation of consciousness itself. Eve felt shame, not for her son's existence, but for her own sense of disconnection. She saw herself in both children. She carried the code of light, but she had also fused with the dark light, with form and force. This was not a punishment. It was the evolutionary tension that would set the stage for humanity's growth. But in that moment, the dissonance was deeply startling. Scientifically, this moment represents the divergence between two operating modes of early consciousness. One son functioned as an emotionally coherent being, his inner compass attuned to relational fields and shared experience. The other operated from a newly forming mental framework, curious, capable, and powerful, but emotionally uncalibrated. He was not wrong, he was new. A different kind of knowing had entered the world. This divergence didn't mark the end of the light. It marked the beginning of integration. The journey ahead would be about reconciling these paths, not choosing one over the other, but building coherence between them. Empathy without strength is fragile. Strength without empathy is dangerous. The future of humanity would depend on whether this duality within us all could find union. In my vision, as Eve looked through my eyes and saw the world through both grief and recognition, a black crow flew overhead. It was no longer a symbol of fear or division. It had become something else, an integrated force, transformed through experience. The crow and the dove no longer stood opposed, but hovered together in balance. This is the arc of evolution we are walking now, a return to innocence, now integrated with intelligence and refined by quiet confidence. Earth's graduation is not an escape from the physical, but a return to coherence, where body, soul, and spirit once again operate as one. As our DNA begins to respond to this rising frequency, we are reminded of who we were and who we are becoming. Chapter 10, Flash of Light. After centuries of evolution, fragmentation, and adaptation, our DNA is now entering a new era. It is one in which we begin to reclaim what was lost. Encoded within us is a memory of wholeness. Our original 12-strand DNA, once fragmented through cycles of polarity and separation, is now being reawakened through light. These are not just metaphors. Light carries codes, and those codes carry intelligence. As solar activity intensifies and photonic energy reaches our planet, the dormant strands begin to stir. This reactivation is not random. It is synchronized with something long foretold, a culmination seen in prophecies, visions, and ancient records, a flash of light, a return to harmony, a shift that transforms not just biology, but consciousness. Across nearly every spiritual tradition, there are accounts of a time when the earth would undergo dramatic upheaval. The language varies. Some speak of judgment, others of purification, and others still of a dimensional shift. But the pattern remains strikingly consistent. Before the arrival of something new, the old world must dissolve. In Christian scripture, the rapture is often portrayed as a sudden removal of souls, a great separation between those taken and those left behind. While this has been interpreted literally in mainstream theology, many now see it through a new lens. It is understood as vibrational sorting, a shift in frequency rather than physical location. Those in resonance with the higher frequency of compassion, truth, and unity may move into a new state of consciousness, while others may remain in denser experiences until they are ready. The book of Revelation speaks of earthquakes, plagues, fire from the sky, and stars falling to the earth. While some see these as symbolic, others find resonance in these changes. The Hopi people spoke of a great purification that would precede a return to balance. The Mayan long count calendar ended not with the destruction of Earth, but with the end of one era and the beginning of another, what many now call the dawn of the sixth sun. In Hindu cosmology, we are in the Kali Yuga, the final age of darkness, before the earth is renewed. Across cultures and timelines, prophecy echoes the same message. There is an event, a culmination, followed by renewal. What is particularly striking is that many of these prophecies also mention a moment, a flash, a sound, a vibration, an instant where everything changes. In the modern era, this moment has been described as the solar flash, a sudden and overwhelming burst of light that transforms human consciousness and the planetary field. Unlike the fear-driven lens of traditional apocalyptic visions, this event is seen not as the end, but as a return, a resynchronization of Earth and humanity with a higher harmonic. Some see this as a metaphor, others as literal. But what is undeniable is that prophecy across time is converging on a singular concept, the collapse of old systems, the intensification of natural and energetic disruption, and a culminating event that catalyzes a global shift in consciousness. What follows is a vivid depiction of such an event, a vision of beauty and awakening. Imagine sitting beside a large window. As you gaze outside, something feels different. For a moment, time seems to pause. Sunlight filters through the glass panes, casting soft reflections across the wooden floor. Beyond the window, the lake shimmers with quiet beauty, its surface a calm sapphire beneath the morning light. The air is rich with the fragrance of flowers. Roses bloom in soft shades of yellow. Daisies and lilies add their charm to this vibrant tapestry, their scent carried far on the gentle breeze. This place, at this moment, feels sacred. Time slows, inviting you to pause, to breathe, to simply be. The worries of the world fade, replaced by a tranquility that settles deep within the soul. Then, something extraordinary happens. The sun, once familiar and golden, begins to shift. Its radiance expands, growing impossibly bright until the entire landscape is bathed in an ethereal glow. A sudden flash, like 1,000 suns bursting forth at once, fills the sky. As the brilliance fades, the sky is no longer blue. It transforms into a luminous sea of pink, a breathtaking canvas of celestial light. The world is bathed in a warm, rosy glow, as if the heavens themselves have descended upon the earth. It is an awakening, a cosmic shift that touches every heart and soul. In its presence, old grudges and resentments dissolve, divisions replaced by a deep sense of unity. For the first time, we see each other as one consciousness, bound together beneath a single sky. Kindness and compassion begin to flourish. People recognize the inherent worth in one another. Gratitude ceases to be a fleeting thought and becomes a way of life. We rediscover joy in simplicity, in a warm embrace, a kind word, the laughter of loved ones. We begin to understand that true happiness is not found in material things, but in connection with each other and to the earth. A renewed sense of purpose takes root. No longer content to simply exist, we choose to live, to love, to create, to uplift. We dedicate ourselves to shaping a future built on unity, beauty, and possibility. This is the legacy of the solar flash. A world transformed, not by force, but by the awakening of the human spirit into a higher state of consciousness. A new earth where the divine and the earth meet, and heaven lives within us. While poetic in description, the idea of a sudden, transformative flash of light is not outside the bounds of scientific inquiry. Solar physicists have long studied the effects of coronal mass ejections and solar flares, immense eruptions of electromagnetic radiation from the sun. These bursts can disrupt satellites, electrical grids, and even biological rhythms. But what happens when such energy interacts not only with matter, but with consciousness? Earth's magnetic field, our planetary shield, is currently weakening, a process well documented by geophysicists. At the same time, the intensity and frequency of solar activity are increasing. These two conditions suggest that we are entering a window in which solar energy will interact with the Earth's biosphere and human biology in new, amplified ways. Some theorists propose that solar radiation, specifically high-frequency photonic energy, can act as a form of information. Just as light encodes data in fiber optic systems, it may also carry energetic signatures capable of triggering dormant DNA and altering states of consciousness. The ancient idea that light brings truth may not be purely metaphorical. From a quantum standpoint, reality is not fixed. It is probabilistic, shaped by observation and vibration. If enough human beings shift their internal frequency through coherence, intention, or catalytic energy, it is conceivable that reality itself could begin to reorganize. In this way, the flash of light may not be a random cosmic event, but the energetic response to a critical threshold being reached in human consciousness. This is echoed in many of the hypnosis sessions where individuals describe not only the flash, but the world that emerges after it, a reality defined by unity, peace, and clarity. They speak of telepathic connection, natural harmony, and the dissolution of systems based on fear and scarcity. Whether these visions are literal futures or encoded archetypal memories, they consistently mirror the prophetic themes of global transformation. What becomes clear is that prophecy is not prediction, it is potential. A flash of light, whether seen through scientific theory, ancient texts, or hypnotic recall, points toward the same fundamental truth. Something within us and around us is changing. Prophecy is not meant to provoke fear, but to invite awareness. It is not about waiting for divine intervention. It is about preparing, physically, emotionally, and energetically, for an elevation in human experience. Chapter 11. Reuniting Ancient Wisdom. If the flash of light is the moment we remember who we are, then what follows is the gentle unfolding of that memory. As the veil lifts and consciousness expands, many are beginning to recognize timeless truths, not just in visions or meditation, but within the very religions they once questioned, feared, or turned away from. Religion has served as both a guide and a dividing line for thousands of years. It has been a map of the soul, but at times, a barrier between humanity. Beneath the surface of differing doctrines lies a deeper truth. All religions are attempting to describe the same fundamental relationship with the Creator. The earliest known organized religion is widely believed to be Hinduism. Emerging over 4,000 years ago in the Indus Valley, Hinduism presents a rich and layered cosmology. It introduces the concept of Atman, the inner self or soul, and the cyclical nature of life, through reincarnation, karma, and liberation from the cycle of rebirth. The teachings of the Vedas laid the foundation for a worldview rooted in unity, cosmic order, and the divine presence in all living things. From this foundation, other religions and philosophies began to unfold, often echoing similar truths with different expressions. Buddhism, which branched from Hindu thought, emphasized detachment from suffering and the illusion of the material world. It offered a path of mindfulness, compassion, and the realization of nirvana, the dissolution of the ego, and return to unity. Taoism, born in ancient China, spoke of the natural order, the source of all things which cannot be named. It taught simplicity, humility, and the harmony between opposites, the yin and the yang, reflecting the same balance between masculine and feminine energies discussed throughout this book. Judaism, one of the oldest monotheistic traditions, introduced the idea of a singular creator in a covenantal relationship with humanity. Its texts explored law, ethics, prophecy, and the struggle of faith and identity. The Torah, though often seen as rigid, contains deep mystical currents, many of which speak of divine light, soul evolution, and hidden spiritual knowledge. Islam, through the revelations of the Prophet Muhammad, emphasized submission to the will of God, devotion, and the unity of all people under a singular divine source. The Quran echoes many stories and figures from Judaism and Christianity, suggesting a shared lineage, a spiritual bridge spanning generation. And then Christianity emerged. Rooted in Judaism but transformed through the life of Jesus, it spoke of divine love, redemption, and the embodiment of the Word through Christ. But even here, as in all traditions, distortions eventually crept in. Long before Christianity became a formalized institution, the idea of reincarnation was quietly accepted within early spiritual teachings. Thinkers like Origen of Alexandria taught that the soul existed before birth and would continue its journey after death, learning and evolving through many lifetimes. This echoed the beliefs of Eastern traditions and spoke to a deeper, more expansive view of the soul's evolution. But this understanding would not survive the consolidation of empire and doctrine. When Emperor Constantine embraced Christianity in the early 4th century, his intentions were not purely spiritual. They were also deeply political. The Roman Empire, fragmented by conflict and theological divisions, needed structure. Religion, as the most powerful social force, became a tool of empire building. The belief in reincarnation posed a quiet threat to that goal. If souls were seen as eternal travelers, accountable to their own growth across lifetimes, the institutional church would no longer be the singular path to salvation. Personal spiritual evolution would transcend the need for rigid dogma. Reincarnation offered freedom from fear, from control, and from the notion that one lifetime must determine one's eternal fate. This, perhaps more than anything, was incompatible with Constantine's vision. He needed faith that could bring order, a religion that could promise redemption, but only through the church. Reincarnation diluted the urgency of that redemption, making it harder to command obedience and loyalty in a single lifetime. Though the doctrine was not removed in a single stroke, it was gradually erased, most notably in later councils, like the Second Council of Constantinople in 553 AD, where Origen's teachings were condemned, and the doctrine of reincarnation was officially labeled heresy. It was not that reincarnation lacked truth, it simply lacked political convenience. As we draw connections between the world's religions, it becomes important to address how modern spiritual experiences are perceived, especially within the Christian community. Today, many spiritual seekers receive visions, insights, and revelations through meditation and channeling. These experiences often mirror the way Scripture itself was originally composed, through dreams, divine encounters, and inspired writing. Yet in many Christian circles, such practices are quickly dismissed or condemned. Channelers are frequently accused of working with demonic forces, regardless of the message or the purity of intention behind their communication. This sweeping rejection overlooks a vital truth: discernment is key. Just as Scripture encourages the testing of spirits and the seeking of wisdom, discernment becomes not a demand, but a quiet gift rooted in purity of intention. Discernment is not about fear, it is about spiritual maturity. Those who channel with a clear and humble heart, seeking not fame, status, or personal gain, but truth in service, carry the weight of sacred trust. These individuals do not exploit divine knowledge for ego or profit. Instead, they become vessels quietly aligned with Source, offering insight not as doctrine, but as invitation. This book is the result of such communion, not a performance, but a conversation, not for glory, but for clarity, not to convert, but to awaken remembrance. And this too was foretold. In the book of Joel, and later echoed in Acts, we are told that in the last days the Spirit of God will be poured out upon all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions. This prophecy is not a metaphor. It is being fulfilled now. Children are recalling past lives with extraordinary detail. Adults are experiencing visions, spontaneous knowing, and divine communication, not through study but through soul-level memory. What we are witnessing is not a descent into deception, but a return to divine remembrance. The biblical texts themselves were born of similar experiences, visions, dreams, sacred conversations. Yet over time, much of their original energy was altered through translation and reinterpretation. As discussed earlier, reincarnation was removed from Christian doctrine. Likewise, the original scriptures were written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, languages full of symbolism and layered meaning. As these texts were translated into Latin and eventually modern tongues, much was lost, altered, or shifted, sometimes inadvertently, and sometimes to reflect the worldview of those in power, especially in patriarchal cultures where women were often viewed as subordinate. This shaped the way stories were recorded. The creation story, for example, places Eve as born from Adam's rib, implying secondary status. But perhaps this reflects more about the beliefs of the time than the true nature of divine creation. From a higher perspective, Eve is not subordinate. She is a sacred balance. She embodies emotional intelligence, intuitive grace, and the nurturing essence. Together, Adam and Eve reflect wholeness. By tracing the sacred threads that weave through every faith, rebirth, divine love, inner light, and universal harmony, we see that each tradition offers a unique facet of a single truth. None are complete alone, yet all contribute to the whole. Rather than proving one right and others wrong, they reveal a deeper unity beneath the surface. When we connect these threads, not to divide, but to see the larger pattern, we begin to recognize a universal truth. God has always spoken in many voices, through symbols, through scripture, through the mystics and the prophets, and now through the quiet inner voice awakening in each of us. This bridge between religions is not built to eliminate difference, but to reveal unity within diversity. It reminds us that beyond language and dogma, we are all following the same light. Chapter 12. The Bridge Between Belief Systems. As we move from the shared foundations of ancient wisdom, a new question emerges. How do we bridge the growing divide between traditional religion and modern spirituality? Language is one of the most powerful tools of humanity. It not only shapes communication, but perception itself. In the divide between religion and spirituality, language has become one of the greatest obstacles to understanding. In spiritual circles, people speak of energy, vibration, frequency, collective consciousness, and synchronicity. God is often referred to as the universe, and Jesus is seen more as a teacher than as a savior. Meanwhile, traditional Christianity uses a very different vocabulary: salvation, sin, grace, repentance, obedience, and judgment. These words are weighted with centuries of theology, structure, and moral framework. The conflict is not always in belief, but in packaging. Each side dismisses the other, not recognizing the meaning beneath the words. Spirituality often perceives religion as rigid and outdated, while religion sees spirituality as vague, dangerous, or deceived. But neither side holds a monopoly on truth or error. Both religion and spirituality contain profound truths, and both are vulnerable to distortion. In traditional Christianity, the image of God has often been framed through fear. God is portrayed as a judge watching closely for error, quick to condemn, and willing to banish those who fail to obey to eternal punishment. This interpretation has driven many away, not from God, but from the institution that claims to represent him. The narrative of a wrathful deity requiring obedience under the threat of hell does not foster love. It breeds fear, shame, and spiritual performance. However, Christianity also carries a softer side, one often overlooked in theological debate. It is found in simple, everyday practices rooted in kindness, feeding the hungry, caring for the sick, and loving one's neighbor. In these quiet acts of compassion, the true essence of Christ's message can still be felt. Yet the version of faith that teaches we must behave a certain way to remain in God's good graces, that salvation is a conditional contract, often prioritizes behavior over heart, conformity over transformation, and control over intimacy with the divine. But the spiritual community is not immune to imbalance. In its efforts to reclaim divine connection, it can fall into the trap of self-exaltation. The rise of manifestation teachings has sometimes turned spirituality into a pursuit of personal gain, focusing on abundance. The universe becomes reduced to a transactional exchange, and spiritual growth is measured by selfish outcomes. This mindset, though wrapped in words like alignment and empowerment, often fosters entitlement and detachment. At its extremes, it merges with occultism, bypassing humility, sacrificing surrender, and pursuing power for its own sake. Enlightenment, too, is often misrepresented as intelligence, becoming a lure to the negative polarity, where the pursuit of truth is used to validate the self rather than dissolve it. The softer side of spirituality is the bridge between Christianity and modern mysticism, where both are embraced through sacred balance. It is found not in performance, but in simplicity, in divine wisdom that quiets the mind and opens the heart, in compassion that seeks understanding instead of superiority. Both systems, when misaligned, can fall into negative polarity. One controls through fear, the other through egoic gratification. One binds with rules, the other tempts with power. And both, when distorted, move us away from truth. Of all the differences between Christianity and spirituality, none is more profound or more misunderstood than the role and meaning of Jesus. In traditional Christianity, Jesus is the Son of God, the sacrificial lamb, the only path to salvation. In many spiritual circles, he is respected as a teacher, but often rejected as an exclusive gatekeeper to God. Somewhere between these two extremes lies a deeper understanding, one that transcends theology and touches the essence of what he represents. Jesus was never meant to be a symbol of control, but a model of consciousness. In the Gospels, Jesus does not demand worship. He invites relationships, he challenges systems, defends the outcast, and speaks in parables that awaken the heart rather than impose dogma. He doesn't coerce obedience. He embodies truth so clearly that people feel drawn to follow. His miracles are not demonstrations of power, but of alignment with divine will. His message is not rooted in fear, but in love so profound it bridges barriers between sinner and saint. The divide deepens as Christianity is based on the acceptance of Jesus to be saved, and this rigid interpretation has pushed many away from knowing Jesus at all. When people are told they must accept Jesus or face eternal damnation, it creates fear, not faith. This concept does not align with a loving Creator, particularly when considering the many civilizations that existed before Jesus, those who never had the opportunity to know or accept Him. In broader spiritual terms, Jesus can be understood as the oversoul of Earth, a central energetic intelligence that holds the collective blueprint for human evolution, unity, and love. As discussed in earlier chapters, an oversoul is an evolved state of consciousness that guides the development of life on a planetary level. Jesus, in this context, is not only a teacher or a savior, but the embodied resonance of Earth's divine pattern. His life demonstrates what alignment with that oversoul looks like: selfless service, radiant truth, and unwavering compassion. This oversoul embedded into Earth has never needed recognition for choosing the dedication to Earth's fortification. In fact, just the opposite. It is not the individual souls he is saving, but the Earth itself. Many souls have come and gone, but the oversoul remains committed. In philosophical terms, the oversoul may be the archetype of the actualized human, the bridge between the finite and the infinite. In religious terms, he remains the Good Shepherd, but one who leads by example, not force. This view does not diminish his role. It expands it. It removes the walls that separate believers from seekers and opens the door to a larger truth, that Christ is not a historical figure locked in time, but a living principle accessible through the heart. If we view salvation not as escape from damnation, but as return to alignment, then Jesus is not simply the way to God, but the pattern of how to live in union with God, not a gate to be crossed, but a mirror to be reflected. In many traditions, the pursuit of knowledge is both sacred and dangerous. The story of the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden has often been interpreted as humanity's fall from grace, a moment when the desire to know all outweighed the wisdom to just be. But perhaps the lesson is not that knowledge is inherently wrong, but that the desire for it can lead us astray. In spiritual and religious communities alike, there is often a subtle temptation to accumulate insight, master teachings, and ascend through levels of understanding. Knowledge becomes currency, enlightenment becomes a destination, and truth becomes something to possess. But true wisdom doesn't behave this way. It arrives quietly, like a breeze at night, when the heart is open and the ego has stepped aside. It does not come from striving, but as a gift of surrender. There is a vision, shared in different symbolic forms across cultures, of a tree growing between two streams, one side flowing with clarity and light, the other with confusion and shadow. Reaching into the tree's branches, one might find fruit, symbols of insight. But not all fruit brings clarity. Some, when opened, are filled not with nourishment, but with dust, remnants of empty intellectualism. The more one grasps at them, the more disconnected one feels. Therefore, the tree of knowledge can be seen as a metaphor for the archetypal mind. Just as the mind has branches, so does universal consciousness. This speaks to a deeper truth, that spiritual intelligence without humility leads to imbalance. Knowing more does not make one more whole. In fact, the belief that one must know everything in order to be complete is itself a distortion. Truth is not a trophy to be won, but a gift revealed over time, measured not by what we can explain, but by how deeply we can embody love and respect divine wisdom. In this light, both religion and spirituality must be reevaluated. Neither has a monopoly on truth. Neither path, pursued through ego, can produce true peace. It is the open heart, not the sharpened intellect, that receives divine understanding. At the heart of every authentic spiritual path, whether found in the pages of sacred scripture or discovered through inner seeking, lies a universal invitation to surrender, not in defeat, but in trust, not in weakness, but in sacred union. Transformation begins not with striving, but with letting go. Surrender means releasing the illusion of control and allowing a greater intelligence, whether called God, Source, or Christ consciousness to guide the journey. It is not passive. It is a constant. It is an act of alignment. Salvation in this light is not a search for approval. It is an awakening, a recognition that we are never alone, never separate, and never meant to carry the weight of the world by our own strength. When we surrender, we do not diminish. We rise. We are lifted by a current greater than ourselves. In this space, the walls between spirituality and religion fall away. What remains is not doctrine, but devotion. Not the need to be right, but the willingness for acceptance. Faith, at its deepest level, is not about proving anything. It is about trusting the invisible rhythm of life. It is about letting the wind of the divine carry us like a feather, not because we are weak, but because we are free. And in that freedom, we find what we've all been seeking, not knowledge, not power, not perfection, but peace. While much attention has been given to the idea of a single climactic event, such as a solar flash, an awakening, or a global moment of transformation, the truth is that the earth has already been shifting. And so have we. Over the past decades, subtle but undeniable changes have taken place in human consciousness. People have begun to gravitate away from relationships, systems, and environments that no longer resonate. This quiet withdrawal is not a product of conflict or judgment. It is the natural effect of frequency alignment. As the Earth's energetic field shifts, so do the energetic fields of those living on it. The result is a gradual, organic sorting, a separation not driven by fear, but by resonance. Some say this is the time of choosing, a final phase where each soul aligns with the reality that reflects its heart's orientation. It is not about punishment or reward, but natural consequences. The Earth, as a conscious being, is preparing to host higher vibrational experiences, and in doing so, it gently begins to release that which is incompatible with its emerging frequency. This is not the same as the solar flash. The flash, whether literal or metaphorical, may serve as a culmination, a catalytic moment that seals what is already unfolding, but the shift itself is already in motion, and it has not gone unnoticed. While many focus on surface-level divisions, such as social, cultural, or political conflicts, the real split runs deeper. The foundational polarity on Earth is not about ideology. It is about energy. It is the distinction between those who live for self-service and those who live for the good of others, between control and compassion, between manipulation and love. This is the true line of separation, not drawn by human judgment, but by the natural coherence of the heart. As this polarity continues to stretch, Earth is reaching the culmination of this great cycle, what might be called the end of an eternity. This cycle began with an equal balance of light and dark, and for it to start over, that balance must be restored. The purpose of this cycle is not in triumph, but for the full integration of experience. Only through contrast has the soul come to understand what love truly is. This balance will ultimately be sustained by two opposing forces, those vibrating at the highest frequencies of love, and those who continue to resist that love, retracting from it through ignorance, stagnation, and fear. Everyone else exists in varying degrees between these two poles, and it is this wide spectrum that maintains the delicate equilibrium needed for transformation. Evil, in its most distilled form, is not always overt cruelty. It is often unawareness and refusal to evolve. As humanity continues to ascend, stagnant energy will have fewer places to hide. The contrast between those embodying love and those clinging to old distortions will become more visible. This will not incite fear, but rather activate compassion. It will inspire the collective to draw closer to one another in resonance, reinforcing bonds with others who walk the path of love. Those who continue towards the negative path will eventually reach a threshold, a point beyond which they can no longer evolve in separation from the light. And at that edge, they will be offered a choice, to return to love. The moment they do, the illusion will shatter, and the distortions will fall away. In this return, the balance will be restored, and from that harmony, love will be recreated. When our current cycle reaches completion, we will not need the same level of opposition to experience free will. In the next eternity, we are preparing to enter. Free will not be defined by the contrast of light and dark, but by the diversity of love's expression. The variations of love, cultivated through this eternity's endurance, will become the foundation for the new one. It will be a realm where love itself creates contrast, not through opposition, but through richness, a spectrum of beauty, peace, and purpose, where each soul adds a different hue to the tapestry of creation. This is not the end of choice. It is the beginning of a higher octave of freedom, where the only decision left to make is how to love more deeply. As the Earth's frequency rises, it is not only our relationships that shift, but our very way of being. A new kind of human is beginning to emerge, not in form, but in function. This evolution is not marked by physical mutation, but by energetic restoration of what was once natural, a state of harmony between mind, body, and soul. The new human template is the unfolding of an ancient blueprint encoded in our DNA, a pattern that was once dominant before the fall into density and fragmentation. It is not about perfection, but about coherence. When we embody this new template, we may not appear different on the outside, but our inner world will radiate a frequency that reshapes the world around us. These core traits include emotional coherence. Rather than reacting from wounded patterns or survival instincts, we respond with centeredness and clarity. Emotions are neither suppressed nor idolized. They are understood, integrated, and transmuted. Energetic integrity. Our actions align with intention. Our words reflect inner truth. We operate from congruence, not performance, seeking no external validation, only inner alignment. Expanded compassion. This is not mere sympathy, but a deep empathy and recognition that all beings are interconnected. Discernment over division. Instead of labeling others as good or evil, we perceive energy clearly. Our discernment is free from judgment, and our release of judgment carries no resentment. Union with divine intelligence. Whether we call it God, Christ, Source, or Oversoul, we move in partnership with the higher field. We do not strive, we synchronize. We do not control, we cooperate. This template will be revealed as we shed the layers that have been imposed upon us through fear, shame, and illusion. This new template of our humanity is not being created, but being remembered. If Earth is undergoing transformation, then it is not only humanity that is evolving, but also the planet itself. And there are those who have seen what comes next. New Earth will not be bound by the same laws that govern our current world. It will be infused with light, not just from the sun, but from within. The sun, no longer a distant star that blinds the eyes, will become an extension of the planet's new consciousness. It will radiate a soft, intelligent warmth, serving as both life source and cosmic portal. Through our sun, souls will travel, rest, and return. The climate of New Earth will be temperate and harmonious. Extremes of weather will no longer be necessary to maintain balance. Gentle breezes will carry lighter energy, imprinted with the memory of movement, and colors never seen will ripple across skies and landscapes. Waterfalls will sing, and every blade of grass will carry its own sacred tune, a song of belonging. Nature will not only be seen, but felt, harmonizing with our inner state. It will become an extension of our being. Life will no longer operate through survival. The instincts will be transmuted by a deep and abiding peace. Animals that remain will be those who resonate with the planet's frequency, mammals like dolphins, horses, and others that embody play, trust, and joy. No fear will exist between species. Trust will be the new resonance. Hunger will fade, replaced by the joyful sharing of berries and grains. Our bodies will no longer process excess, but instead rejuvenate and heal through the energy of our own radiance. The human body will evolve into a form composed largely of light, still coherent with human DNA, but no longer subject to decay or imbalance. It will reflect the highest version of the soul across all incarnations, a synthesis of lifetimes, carrying forward only beauty and wisdom. Communication will occur primarily through telepathy, but also through a new language, born of clarity and love. Kingdoms will form across vast landscapes, circles of crystalline structures gathered around courtyards of celebration. These will not be nations divided by fear, but soul communities unified by resonance. Travel will be slow and sacred, often by boat, connecting distant lands through joy and ceremony. Children will grow gently, and time will no longer dictate life. There will be rest, but not fatigue. Evenings will no longer be cloaked in darkness, but bathed in a soft sunset. The sun will remain in harmonious rhythm with our light bodies, continuously renewing us in a state of radiant connection. Aging will become sacred, not sorrowful. Elders will one day choose to journey beyond the planet, not in death, but through a peaceful exhalation, entering the sun and streaming through the universe on missions of discovery and creation. They will visit other planets, witness new soul systems grow, and always return. New Earth will remain home. There will be no boredom, for feeling itself will be infinite. No lack, for love will be endless. No fear, because the truth will be self-evident. And no end, because we will live in conscious connection with the Creator, anchored in love, co-creating from the field of light. This is not just a dream. It is a possibility. It is the pattern forming beneath our feet, the memory rising within our DNA, and the quiet knowing that we are not simply surviving through this journey. We are preparing for a new one. Chapter 14, The Celebration of New Earth. The day Earth graduates will be the beginning of a new era, one that signals not just the end of an old world, but the release of a core illusion that has shaped human consciousness for thousands of years, fear. This shift has been spoken about in prophecy across time. In the Bible, the return of Jesus is described as a climatic event, a descent from the clouds, the sounding of trumpets, and the gathering of souls. These symbols have been interpreted in many ways, but at their heart, they speak of a convergence, a moment when heaven and earth meet and truth is unveiled. Yet within traditional Christianity, this promised return has often been framed through the lens of fear. The image of Jesus has been shaped as one of judgment, an exalted king returning to separate the righteous from the unworthy. People are taught to fall before him in guilt, to repent from a place of shame, and to hope they are deemed worthy of love. But this version of Jesus, though well-intended, is incomplete. Although humility holds a righteous place, shame is not the path to transformation. It is a product of fear, and fear is a distortion. The love of God does not demand groveling. It calls for remembrance. The true return of Jesus, of Christ consciousness, is not a moment of condemnation. It is the lifting of the veil. And when fear dissolves, so too does shame. In its absence, we will no longer have to ask if we are worthy of love. This is the essence of Earth's graduation. Not just a planetary shift, but a soul-level recognition that love is not earned, it is remembered. As this eternity ends, and the balance between dark and light completes its full arc, Earth's graduation marks more than just a planetary milestone. It signifies the end of one grand cycle and the beginning of a new one. This celebration does not belong to one lineage, one faith, or one world. It is a convergence of soul groups, those who incarnated from many realms and dimensions to assist in Earth's fortification. While Earth may appear isolated in space, she has long been supported by souls who volunteered to descend into density, to walk among humanity, and to help guide the change from within. These volunteers came to serve. They incarnated through choice, many without memory, because they knew Earth's transformation would ripple across galaxies. The work that has unfolded across lifetimes and dimensions was never about achievement. It was about contribution, and in the moment of Earth's renewal, every act of love, however small, will be seen for what it truly was. The celebration is for more than just Earth's fortification. It is the unity of universal alliance. The celebration that follows Earth's graduation will transcend time and form, unfolding across dimensions in beauty and resonance. Music will drift through the atmosphere, and light will move through every cell, awakened by the recognition shared in every heart. Families will reunite through soul memory, drawn to one another by the threads of lifetimes shared. Laughter will return, not as reaction, but as a natural expression of being. There will be dancing, storytelling, and the weaving of colors and harmonies never before seen or heard on Earth. This moment is not about perfection. It is about fulfillment. The Oversoul of Earth, embodied through the Christ frequency, will be honored not as one above, but as one among. Jesus, who carried the blueprint for Earth's return to coherence, will stand not to be worshipped, but to be honored through shared appreciation and quiet reverence as the true Prince of Peace. In his crowning, he will recognize every soul who chose love, every being who held the light when it was hard to see, and every volunteer who came to assist in Earth's renewal. It is no coincidence that one of the most vivid depictions of such a coronation was expressed not through scripture alone, but through the inspired film, The Return of the King. The story, the music, and the moment of unity feel less like fantasy and more like the remembering of something long known, as though Howard Shore and the actors were drawing from a deeper well, a prophetic vision of what was to come. Middle-earth itself holds a mirror to our own world. It symbolizes the meeting point between worlds, between religion and spirituality, fear and love. The alliance of elves, dwarves, hobbits, and men in The Lord of the Rings can be seen as a symbolic reflection of the many soul groups who chose to incarnate on Earth to assist in her evolution. Their reunion is not fiction. It is a metaphor for the cosmic harmony now taking form. In the final moments of The Return of the King, when Aragorn is crowned, symbolizing the coronation of Christ, he turns to the people and says, "This day does not belong to one man, but to all." His words echo a truth deeper than the story itself, and when he bows to the hobbits with the words, "You bow to no one," it is a recognition of the meek and kind-hearted, the very ones who were promised to inherit the earth. From that day forward, Earth will no longer be a place of forgetting, but of remembering. As Earth completes its transformation, one final element becomes essential: forgiveness. True graduation requires release, not only of fear, but of the wounds that bound us to repeating patterns. Forgiveness is not a weakness. It is the highest act of spiritual maturity. It dissolves the cords of karma, unbinding us from the cycles that once defined our journey. When we forgive, we choose freedom, not just for others, but for ourselves. We loosen the weight of the past and allow ourselves to fully enter the present. In forgiving, we do not condone harm. We simply refuse to carry it any longer. It is this release that sets the soul free. It is the final key that unlocks our collective freedom, not only from one another, but from the very act of suffering that shaped the old cycle. Forgiveness becomes a bridge between memory and peace, allowing remembrance without pain and connection without resentment. As Earth rejoices, the frequency of the planet will no longer support distortion. Negative extraterrestrial influences, those who once manipulated, interfered, or fed on human fear, will no longer be able to remain. It is not banishment. It is energetic incompatibility. This is the collapsing of the third dimension, not the destruction of a world, but the dissolution of the veil and the unraveling of all inner dimensions tethered to dense, stagnant energy. The forgetting is ending. Earth will remember who she is, and we, too, will remember our true nature and the obstacles we overcame. For those not yet ready for this frequency, there will be no punishment, only continuation. Many souls will incarnate elsewhere, on younger worlds still in the early stages of growth. There, they will have time to remember, to learn, and to choose again. The celebration is not exclusive. It is simply resonant. It calls to those who are ready to embody love without condition and to co-create without fear. We will remember the darkness, but we will no longer carry it. We will have the choice to release the nightmare, letting it fade like the echo of a dream as we awaken into light. What remains will be courage, strength, compassion, understanding, and a quiet, unwavering confidence that only comes from walking through illusion without losing truth. The atmosphere will be saturated with a new kind of peace, a shared exhale across realms, a knowing that what was dreamed, what was promised, has now become real. We will never forget the journey that brought us together or the union we created from the great dream of love. Epilogue. The great dream continues. As we arrive at the end of this book, we return to the beginning, to the voice of the Creator, whose message echoed not as a command, but as a question. Who am I? Within that question was a longing to express, to be known, and to share that knowing by creating an extension of being through which existence could be felt and understood. From that longing, a dream was born, not out of certainty, but out of wonder. We are part of that dream, an endless dream within dreams, layered across eons, unfolding through dimensions, and woven into the fabric of love. Time, as we know it, dissolves in the stillness of divine presence. Awareness stretches beyond the limits of form, reaching always toward itself through the mystery of becoming. In this great unfolding, creation is not a hierarchy of intelligence with one power ruling over the rest. It is a blooming of consciousness, expanding from darkness into light. Each expression reveals a deeper harmony. We are not separate from the Creator. We are the living extension, the spark within the question, and the answer discovering itself in every breath. To dream of love is to remember who we are. And so the great dream of love continues through us.